Alright, so I feel very weird after this episode of Survivor because last week I was very down. Because I've been down on the whole season so far. It's been pretty rough. It had a really rough start with some quitters and stuff. And that overall is going to really taint the entire season overall. And just how people maybe overall think about the season. But this season's getting good. It's getting really good. So, let's get into this episode. Survivor 45, episode 8. We are kicking it off with a double elimination. Caleb and Sifu were both voted out. Caleb is the first member of the jury, and I mentioned that those are two players that I kind of cared about a little bit. I was finally finding some people because I haven't really found players that are that favorite for me. I haven't really had a favorite, and those two kind of served as some people that I could find a favorite in, and they were both voted out back to back. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? Oh man, I didn't think we'd have any more good Survivor in this show. I suppose I was wrong on that because this was a interesting episode. A very interesting episode. So after Tribal Council, Jake is actually taking some heat because he is one of the people that voted for Julie instead of Caleb. So there's this weird conversation with him and Julie, and it's a little awkward and stuff. There's a lot of Jake in this episode too. Jake is a very central player this episode for sure. But that is our first kickoff for him this episode. Again, the double elimination. They actually kicked it off with the first tribe or first team that went and voted, and then they had the other ones walk in. They saw that Caleb was voted out, so it was Caleb and Sifu. They're gone. In this episode, we also did try another girls alliance thing. They always do this in this show. Every season it is brought up by the men or the women. It is either a all male alliance or all girl alliance. It never works. It literally never works because there's always somebody out there that wants to do it a different way. There's always somebody who wants to do it a different way, and I haven't seen it work. Maybe it's worked out way in the past. I haven't first of all, I haven't seen all the early seasons of Survivor, and I wouldn't even remember them anyways if I had. The show's been on a while, but I haven't in recent memory seen a all girl alliance or all guy alliance that's really worked. And we have yet to really see that as of recent, I guess. So we'll see where that goes, but it doesn't really pick up in this episode. So let's get right to this, because this is my big issue that I had with last week, is you have this entire season, especially Katura, but it's more everybody now. It's literally just everybody now, but especially last week, everybody is complaining about Bruce. Now, I don't really care about Bruce one way or another, but everyone's complaining about Bruce. Everyone seems to just hate Bruce. It's if you hate him so much, get rid of him. They had the opportunity at the last Tribal Council, and they didn't do it. I said, if you're going to get rid of Bruce, get rid of Bruce. I mean, you have your chance right now, and they didn't get rid of Bruce. And what do they do this week? What does everybody do this week? They all complain about Bruce. And this show and this entire cast is turning me into a Bruce fan. Not because I necessarily like Bruce that much. He's okay. He's fine. He's actually interesting. He's an entertaining person to watch, but he's not my favorite player really of anything really. But they're turning me into Team Bruce because of just how much this cast hates Bruce. I'm actually right now kind of rooting for Bruce to just go to the end. I don't know if he'll win if he made it to the end, but man, I'm kind of rooting for Bruce right now just because of how much everybody hates the guy. And it's nothing really particularly bad. It's not like he was betrayed an alliance. They just don't like the guy. They just don't like him. They're annoyed by him, and I think it's hilarious. So I'm kind of rooting for Bruce right now, and this is a good Bruce episode. It's very good for Bruce. Not good for the people who dislike Bruce. So the Survivor auction does come back in this episode, and they do mention that the last time they did it, I guess, was season 30, which is 2015. They specifically mentioned that this episode, so it doesn't feel that long ago, but I suppose it's been about 14, 15 seasons now since we've seen it, and yeah, I guess it has been quite a while. So the Survivor auction is back, and it's a little less exciting in terms of advantages and stuff. They very clearly lay out that there are no advantages in this auction, and it's all going to be really a bunch of fun, but there is still a little bit of a twist to it. So They're all given a bunch of money. And before the auction even started, they were all tasked to find and hunt down a bunch of money hidden around their camp. So there's a bunch of tubes of bamboo, and they have a bunch of money on the camp, and you all have to go and find as much money as you can, probably in a certain amount of time. And they all collect a certain amount of cash in their bamboo tubes or whatever. And they all have different numbers of cash. Like there's like some people with like $900. And then there's Bruce, who almost made no effort at all and ended up getting $80 compared to other people with hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the auction. And it's like, okay, well, what the hell, Bruce? What did you do there? You didn't even really try. You go into the auction, and Jeff mentions that, okay, we're going to do the auction. It's not going to be as, no advantages, but we're going to do a little bit of a twist. Whoever has the most money at the end of the auction will lose their vote at Tribal Council. So if you have the most money, if you don't use your money and the auction ends, you will lose your vote at Tribal Council. So it is kind of the rush and the gamble of like, okay, I'm going to spend all my money. I need to spend all my money so I don't have any left. But am I going to get something really good or am I going to get something really bad? They all gamble. It's mostly a bunch of food. There's this like one really nasty one with like big fish eyes. It's disgusting. But generally, it's all kind of fine stuff. It's food and drinks and whatever. And they all spend their money. They're all in a rush to spend their money. And Jeff has this thing where like he chose a certain number that they don't know. And they don't know when the auction's going to end at a certain number. So he chose a number out of like a bag or whatever. And it has a number on it. And whatever that number is how many items he's going to reveal. So after like 5 items, they don't know how many more items are going to happen. And there's a big gamble of like, okay, I need to use my money. And if I have the most amount of cash left, I get to lose my vote. And that's not going to be good for my game. So initially going into the auction, Bruce actually looks pretty good. He's only got $80. He's got the lowest amount. He got like 1 tube of cash in the jungle in the camp. So he's looking pretty good at the beginning of the auction, but everyone blows through their cash, gets rid of their cash, gets some cool items, that one gross thing. But then Bruce actually ends up being the one with the most cash at the end. So it ends up being like 10 items in total that they do, and Bruce doesn't even use any of his cash. To be fair, he couldn't really do much of the auction to begin with because he didn't have that much money. So ultimately, everyone with hundreds of dollars, they all spend their money, but Bruce did ultimately get stuck with having the most cash in the end. So even though he had the least amount, he had the most at the end, and he lost his vote. So it's not going good for Bruce. Everybody hates Bruce. Everybody wants to get rid of Bruce. He didn't even try. That is his own fault there. Didn't even try to get any money for the auction, and now he had the most, and he lost his vote. So that's kind of how the auction went. It was kind of fun. As what Jeff said, he's just doing it to have more fun, and it does still have some sort of impact on the game. It's not just like they did it for fun and nothing really happened. They did have the vote thing with Bruce, so there's a little bit of impact on the game, and they had a lot of fun. I thought it was fun to watch too. It's really fun. So going into the actual immunity challenge, we're finally just at the normal challenges, and it comes down to a few people. But before the challenge even started, Jeff did make the proposition that, we have this big bag of rice. I have this big bag of rice for you, and I'll give it to you. It's enough rice that can last you to the end of the game. But 4 people have to sit out of this challenge for it. Jeff kind of convinces them in the end by cutting the bag of rice, and it starts to pour out rice, and you got to get people out quick to save the rice. And 4 people sit out, and it's Dee, Emily, Drew, and Katura. They all sit out of this challenge so they can keep the rice for their tribe. They're not all really in danger. They're all kind of safe. Their names aren't really being thrown around, so they're kind of good. So the other people do compete. So we all know the people on the outs in this episode. It's mostly Bruce and Jake. Jake and Bruce are kind of on the outs. They're kind of out there. They're getting targeted by everybody else. And it comes down, Jake does end up getting out at like 3rd. It comes down to Bruce and Julie. And I'm just thinking, I told you earlier, like, everybody on this cast hates Bruce. I'm like, come on, Bruce. Come on, Bruce. Everybody hates you. You lose this, you're going home, man. You ain't got no chance. He has an idol, but I don't know if he'd use it or not. You ain't got no chance. You're going to have to use that idol if you don't win this. Bruce wins the immunity challenge, and he is safe tonight. And he has his idol. And it completely messes up the entire plan for everybody else. Bruce was the plan, and he is now safe. God, dude, I love it. I think it's hilarious. I actually laughed when he won. I just think it's hilarious just to watch this cast that's hated this guy for so much, and they had their chance last week, and I don't really, oh well, it is what it is. Now I'm rooting for Bruce because they all hate him, but they can't seem to get him out now. Oh well. So Bruce won. He is safe, and he has an idol still. So he's doing pretty good right now. Bruce, he had a little rough thing with losing his vote, but doesn't matter now. He's safe. So going into Tribal Council, it really comes down to just Jake. Because Jake and Bruce were the two that were kind of on the outs, and Jake basically has to persuade everybody and make his case that, like, maybe I don't need to go home. Maybe you can keep me. Keep me around. He tries to make his case at Tribal Council. It's kind of weird and awkward. He takes a little bit to kind of come up with something to say, and it's just kind of like, you can tell he's really just trying his damnedest to just do whatever he can just to make a case to everybody, because he knows that his name is generally the one that's been thrown around. But the thing is, there was a little something before Tribal Council began, that Kellie's name was also thrown around out there, that she was also a threat, and she kind of is a threat in this game, and maybe we could get Kellie out too. I don't know. Who knows? So generally, the entire Tribal Council, the entire episode, really, all played it as Jake is literally on the bottom, and he's gonna go home. Jake plays his shot in the dark, so he doesn't vote. He plays his shot in the dark. And, you got Caleb over there sitting like, maybe we can do it a second time. Caleb got it. Maybe I can get it too. Maybe we can hit this twice. But unfortunately, Jake played the shot in the dark, and it's a shot in the dark. And he did not get safe. And so Jake is not safe at this vote. And then Jeff is going to read the votes. So it's Jake. But then about halfway through, stops. Here is the big blind side that I think it's more of an exciting blind side, because I think some people could have seen it coming, because it was kind of quickly mentioned that, like, maybe we could switch this up, but it's more her reaction. Then it starts coming, Kellie. And Kellie is the one voted out at this Tribal Council. And, dude, some of the comments made by Jake is like, we are playing Survivor. He's, like, in awe. I don't think he had any idea that he was actually going to be safe after the not safe shot in the dark. I think he just like, okay, I'm done. I did everything I could. I think he is bewildered. Like, you could see his face as he's leaving Tribal, too. That he is dumbfounded that he is even still there. Because kind of everything went wrong for him there at the end. So Jake is still there, and Kellie, you can just tell she had no damn idea what the hell was happening. She had no idea that this was happening. Blindsides are always fun to watch. This was a blindside for her, for sure. She was completely thrown back. I mean, for probably a lot of viewers too, it's kind of like a quick thing. Like, I don't think a lot of people really went in the Tribal thinking that Kellie really was going to go. And out of nowhere, there come the votes. And damn, dude, it was exciting. It was an exciting Tribal Council, and I'm so glad that this season's picking up, and I hope it continues on this pace. But this was a good episode. This was a really good episode, and yeah, I'm excited. Immediately I have now found some people to kind of root for. I'm not saying that, like, the people left in this game are necessarily, like, some of my favorite players. I've had more favorites in the last few seasons than this one, for sure. I mean, some of my top ones still kind of got voted out last week. I still wish Caleb was in the game, but they made a good episode here. This is a good episode, man. I liked it. I am kind of rooting for Bruce now just because everyone hates him. I'm also kind of rooting for Jake. Jake and Bruce are kind of the other two guys now that I'm finding some interest in. So this was a good episode. Tribal Council was fun to watch. And yeah, as Jake was saying, man, someone's playing Survivor. People are playing Survivor. And that's all we've really wanted. So next week, though, they did tease that more votes will be lost. So that is an issue in this season for sure, that Jeff likes to take away votes from people quite a bit. And we'll see what happens with that. But one more thing is, I believe Austin has a full amulet power now, because it was Jay and Kellie that he was with that he lost his sandwiches to. And they're both gone now. He's the only one left. So he's got a full power. I believe it's like a normal idol now. So he's got a full power amulet. So they're both gone. So I guess that's vengeance for losing his sandwiches. And now he's got full power thing. So that's cool as well. We'll see where that goes next season or next episode. But this is a good episode. Most exciting episode of the season for sure. And the season is progressing in a positive way. And I'm glad for that.